Hi everyone, welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session on Build Engaging Presentations. My name is Benedict. I'm a trainer for Google's free skills training program, Google Digital Garage. Just a bit about myself. I'm an experienced coding specialist and digital skills trainer, as well as having a background in the digital creative industry and worked in the sector for over 20 years. I would also like to introduce our amazing moderator, Daryl. Daryl is also a Google Digital Garage coach and will be interacting with you and answering just about all of your questions via the instant chat to the right there. You can identify the moderator by his name, Daryl, as well as a little blue spanner next to his name. Now, just before we start, I just want to call out a few things to help you today. Firstly, if you're having any trouble viewing the webinar at any point, just try refreshing your page, often Control-R or Command-R, often just for refreshing. If you would like to join the instant chat today, and please do, because it's great for us to be able to interact with you and everything, you do need to have a YouTube account, which you can very easily set up by clicking on the box on the right. You'll see there's a box on the right there to sign up for an account and everything. Now, we will be pausing throughout the session, and hopefully Daryl will kindly pass some of the questions across to me, which is great, so I can, answer those particular questions. But so please do feel free, fire away with your questions throughout. That's what we're here to do, to help and assist and answer all your different questions. So just to let you know, we are running this Google Digital Garage virtual training as part of a broader offering of courses. If you would like to check out our schedule of upcoming webinar training, please do see the information of this in the description below, which links you through to our website. Okay, so that is the housekeeping done. Let us now get started with Build Engaging Presentations, which is kind of exciting because, of course, that's exactly what, hopefully exciting, what I'm doing right now, which, of course, is actually doing a presentation on Build Engaging Presentations. So this is what we're going to be covering today. So particularly crafting your approach to presentations, particularly covering, so you, with the particular side of your presentation to achieve a particular desired, effect, know where to start to actually create a presentation from scratch, and then remember the basic skills to present in front of an audience. And of course, always you gain confidence to present effectively. The more you practice, the better. And of course, we're constantly in front of the camera, talking to all of you. We can't see you, sadly, but of course, we've got the chat there. So please do introduce yourselves. Say hi, where you're signing on from. Be really nice to hear. I mean, of course, I know that's symbolically. We'll be able to see that. It will be great to see where you're actually signing on from, what your names are, and everything. It'll be really fabulous. So please do say hi. Daryl's there, and he's giving lots of links and everything, and introducing and welcoming you all. So please do chat with us. Be great. Now, all of that aside, and of course, I'll keep an eye out on that, on the chat, just to see if there's anything comes up, which would be great. There's another thing as well, which is quite important, where there are free career certificates, which actually are available from Google. Now, Google Career Certificates at google.gle/career cert UK. Thank you very much. Daryl, he's providing you the link there. Oh, excellent. Welcome, Joanne from Scotland. And welcome, Matias Perez, joining from London. Excellent. That's a Spanish name, isn't it? I lived in Spain for 7 years. Entonces hablo español, pero I won't speak, of course, in Spanish now. And then, Mapia. I can only pronounce that part of your name. It's fascinating. And welcome from Greece. This is fabulous to have you here. And Carl from the Philippines. Excellent. Wonderful to have all of you here. Really nice. So thank you so much for saying hi. And do please fire away with any questions that would go through these different things. Now, Daryl will provide you a link as well for the Google Career Certificates. They're really useful. And, there's different signs. I think, actually, Daryl, you've done the UX one. There's different signs, different things that are covered, UX, so user experience side for websites and everything. And then there's also things like data analytics. Welcome, Ilona. Welcome. I remember seeing you before. I was moderating at the time. Welcome from France. Excellent. Yes, sorry, there's different sides which are covered with the Google Career Certificates. There's UX, there's There's also data and analytics. There's IT support. So whenever you go and there's problems with the program that you're using, there's IT support that you're communicating with. And then there's different, and there's project management. There's many different sides which are covered. So those are very useful. I'm afraid it's only set for the UK at present. So Google Career certificates, but it's a great opportunity. You can do them roughly 6 months. We say always, roughly 6 months, depends. Some are going to take longer than others. But it's a great opportunity. So certainly, I mean, obviously, if you're running your own companies, obviously you're not going to worry about these. But certainly, if you are starting up, in particular areas, you could even embellish. Even if you've studied analytics and everything, and you want to go even further, you can add that feather to your cap, as it were. Which would be fabulous. Welcome, Fabian from Switzerland. Excellent. Wow, this is great. This is so exciting. Okay, sorry. Calm down. All right. So with these different sides, let me get started. So what's the most memorable presentation you have experienced? Now, when I say the most memorable, could have been the most engaging or the most dreadful and afraid, or the one who lecturer might have been. Welcome. Hi, is it Nitin? How about I'm pronouncing it correctly? From India. Welcome. Nitin, yes, there we go. Can't see the image there. That's fabulous. So it's wonderful to have all of you here. So wonderful from different parts of the world. And I wish some of these things we could be offering you, in the whole of the world. But hopefully in the future, this will be happening. Anyway, going back to this. So think about the most memorable. So one you can really remember. Now, this could be been really bad, or could have been really fabulous and really got your attention. I can remember one when I was at university. Now, I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually from Cape Town, South Africa. My colleague Daryl's from Johannesburg. We're both actually from South Africa. But yes, when I was at University of Cape Town, beautiful place. But I do remember one lecture. She was really good at what she done her PhD in and everything. But the problem was she kind of read exactly what her thesis was, which was fascinating at the same time, but it was very difficult to concentrate, because when it's not made alive, you can really, you capture by, you follow it, you really, So yeah, that's one I can remember. Sorry, it's one of which is quite negative, but think of a memorable presentation, hopefully more on the positive side. So I know I've mentioned a negative one. Hey, welcome, Elena from Greece. This is fabulous. Great. This is wonderful. Okay, so if you can think of any memorable presentation, please fire away, and I'll keep an eye on that. So please do share that with us. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I know there's a slight lag anyway. Now there's another thing which is so. Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on. Why do we present? Now, there's different reasons, of course. It's communication, because we need to get certain points across. Could be persuasion. So it could be persuasion to realize that this is really good and we really want to buy this particular product, whatever it might be, or could be instruction to help people, so they've got this thing. How do you put it together? This is, maybe some people aren't very DIY and they really need to learn these different things. So the chances are your career depends on how you speak, you write, and you think, in that order. So because people will hear you first, the way you speak, and then the way you write, and then where you think. But nobody knows what you think until you speak and until you write. So these days we have shorter attention spans for reading, So the big thing is, of course, it's the way you think largely springs up with the way you speak and then the way you write as well. Now, if you can really move the mind of others, they see in you the ability to get things done, and they see that in your language and expression, you inform, inspire, instruct, entertain, persuade. There's many different sides. There's another side as well, because some people have, for example, dyslexia, and the problem is often they think, they speak, and then the writing, there's a major issue. And I've spoken to some mentees as well, because we have a mentoring thing as well, but only in the UK, I'm afraid, at present. But there was one I remember who was dyslexic, but she was really good at presenting and communicating, and it was really inspiring. But she had the problem with the writing. But of course, nowadays there's a lot of which takes dictation. I mean, I use MacBook Pro, and I'm on in video. I'm on a PC, which is a gaming computer and everything. But I know with the computer, I can speak and I can dictate to what I want, or I can follow a talk and it'll take down by dictation, and it works it out quite well. So there's a lot of different things to help you that bridge the gap between the speak and the write as well, which is great. Excellent. Welcome, Mark Adams from Vice Magazine about digital transformation. Wow. Oh, this is what you remember. My apologies, Fabian. Sorry. Mark Adams from Vice Magazine about digital transformation talked for like 3 hours. Wow. And I was focusing on every second. That's great. Absolutely. That's a very good point there, Fabian. Such a great storyteller. The storyteller is so important. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Joanne, AI chat, text to voice and everything. So there can be that. But one of the big things is nothing can compare with a human voice, really putting it across, I feel. But voice to text, absolutely. I think it's more voice to text one would be looking for. Now, there's someone I'm going to present to you now, and her name is Nilofer. I'm pronouncing this name even, Nilofer Merchant, and she gives a talk particularly on this. So I'm going to put it on now, just now for you, so you can watch it. So just bear with me. Here we go. So yes, so I'll just describe what this person's going to be talking about as well, just before we get started. Nilofer actually suggests a small idea that just might have a big impact on your life and health. So let's have a look what this particular one is. Here goes.
What you're doing right now at this very moment is killing you. More than cars or the internet, or even that little mobile device we keep talking about, the technology you're using the most almost every day is this, your tush. Nowadays, people are sitting 9.3 hours a day, which is more than we're sleeping at 7.7 hours. Sitting is so incredibly prevalent, we don't even question how much we're doing it. And because everyone else is doing it, it doesn't even occur to us that it's not okay. So instead of going to coffee meetings or fluorescent lit conference room meetings, I ask people to go on a walking meeting to the tune of 20 to 30 miles a week. It's changed my life. You'll be surprised at how fresh air drives fresh thinking, and in the way that you do, you'll bring into your life an entirely new set of ideas. Thank you.
Okay, so actually, in fact, I'll just go back to that anyway. That's great. I just want to introduce as well, welcome, let me see if I pronounce this correctly, Harut, I hope I'm doing it correctly, from DGJ Academy, Beirut. Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the welcome from you. We really appreciate that. Now, with this particular one, what's great, I must say, about TED Talks is the presentation is really good, because they do really well, because they have clear thought about what they're going to communicate. So the big thing here, what did you take away from this presentation? How effective would you say the presenter was as well? If you give some feedback on that, that'd be fabulous, because what is great about it is just so simple. Oh, welcome, Farhan from Indonesia. Welcome. What particular thing did you walk away from that particular talk? And the big thing is, of course, it can be a really simple thing, but if you pick up that particular thing and walk away with that, is fabulous. And of course, that what she's saying as well, the walking meeting, or just ideas flow when you go out for a walk. I don't know about you, I walk every morning. That's my craziness. Every morning, an hour and a half, I walk around we've got a beautiful park where I am. And it's kind of so necessary just to walk and just have a break, because I compose. So of course it's quite creative, and sometimes you need to walk away from it. And the same with your work. You sometimes get so bogged down into it, you need to just have a break, walk away. And then sometimes those great ideas come to you when you're actually having a walk. And of course, for health reasons as well, it's so important just to get up as well. I know with my Apple Watch as well, often it says you need to stand up, and I'm like, excuse me. But of course, it's again reminding one just to make sure that you get up, you walk, you get exercise, and all those kind of different sides to keep healthy. So TED Talk is great, because they've really put this together. They've worked on it, and it got so clear. So check out TED Talk, the talks on different topics, because it'll give you an idea, it'll give you inspiration of how to put some of these different ideas together. Okay. So the big thing here now, one of the big things is you're telling a story. Now, this relates back to, let me just see now. Yes, absolutely. What Fabian was saying about Mark Adams. He was such a great storyteller. Now, I want to enlarge on this. This is my own personal thing as well. But I saw TED Talks, and I used to run a 2D, 3D, and whiteboard animation company. And of course, there again, I was telling a story, but I was telling it with animation, with all sorts of different things, and then with a hand being written. Now, of course, I tell stories, but with music, which is quite challenging as well. So, of course, the story is so important. And they did actually, there was a TED Talk about this, and they did a test where they had these, I mean, of course, these were volunteers, please understand. These were not the unaware audience. These were volunteers who had these things attached to their skull to pick up the brain waves. And the TED talker went out, or the person who they had for giving the talk went out. And the person spoke sort of generally a bit about this, about that. Brainwaves were sort of a little bit all over the place. But as soon as the person started on the story, then suddenly the brainwaves started, I mean, they not went like that into sync, but they started to go into sync. And if you think about it, anything anyway, all of us go to movies at some point, and you're sitting there, we're really involved, and we all go, and then you suddenly realize you're not alone. There's a lot of people around you because you're so captured up into that story. So it's the same, and of course I have a passion for film. So of course, again, it's another form of telling the story where there's many different things used. There's the image, there's the voice, there's the music, all, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying ideally you could be using that within your talk. A good friend of mine as well, when he gives talks, he puts music as well in the background. It's pretty phenomenal. But I mean, obviously, the content is so very important. And the story, as you were saying as well, about Mark Adams, really with the storytelling. So it's so important that you've got, so you're not delivering a presentation, more you're telling a story. And of course, the big thing about story has a structure and really does take the audience on a journey. So it's the simple rule of having, a beginning where you set up what you are actually presenting, a middle where the audience goes on a journey of discovery with you, and then an ending where you tie the different thoughts together and reveal any final insights. So all of those things, beginning, middle, and end. And of course, films, if you think about it, they've got that as well. But of course, normally the beginning, of course, is the build-up and the scene, and you're getting used to the different characters. And then there's a problem, and the problem is often needs to be solved within the middle. And then of course, a lot of wars fought or whatever, and then of course it's resolved with the ending, whatever it might be. So it always comes up. So basic story types. So there's different types of story you could be using. There's, for example, origin story. So many great inventions have an origin story. They focus on often dire circumstances. The narrator has lived through struggle and hardship, loss of jobs, family, home, money, and others. All of these different areas could be covered. So, what I mean? It's so important that part of the origin is so important that is mentioned. A lot of different people have actually, with their own company, they've told their origin story as well. And that's really useful because people will see if they resonate with it. There was a company, it was Minty, actually, she was mainly set in Ireland, but also in the UK. And she started something about, she'd done research because she had problems with menopause and then the effect on her skin. And she did a lot of research into it. She came up eventually with this product, which was actually using natural ingredients, She started something on Facebook. I mean, to be totally frank, it could be many different social medias, and she immediately, very quickly got 400 followers. But of course, it's because she was telling her story. And then she was advised with the different people she should take on, which is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is there's a danger sometimes. You've got to make sure you're in charge of your story. This is your story if you're running a company and everything. So, and if you're working for a company, go back to the origin of that company maybe, and play around with those different things, those different ideas, or the state of the world at that time, or those kind of things. And then, of course, there's the future vision. Now, this is the opposite of the origin story. It paints a dream or picture of what could be. Okay. And then, of course, we've got another one, which is failure or success, So, these are essentially didactic and have a sort of certain outcome or learning. You're actually trying to explain the different things. I learned from my mistakes and now have offices in 30 countries across the world, for example. We have an example here. So, of course, you've struggled with the different things and you've come out with the different sides, And all of these things are very important. I was actually giving a talk the other day, Black Business Expo, and I grew up in Cape Town, and there was a lot of racism and there was apartheid during the time I was there, and I was very aware of that around me. I never liked it at all. I was very against it, strikes and everything against that. But it was just interesting because, again, that's an origin story as well. Because, of course, that often for a lot of Black people, that was the origin where they were treated, very badly, and there was slavery and all sorts of different things. So there's a lot of origin stories that can be used. And if you think about any company that you're putting together, you come from often an origin where there's the different things you are solving. So that's very important. And then, of course, the future vision, which can be very exciting, failure or success. And then, of course, there's a realization, which is largely about solving a problem, of being stuck and then having that inspiring eureka moment, like Gravity with Apple, whatever it might be. But it's just that, great, I got it now, which is not dissimilar to what Nilofer Merchant was talking about, that sudden realization, I need to get up, I need to walk around and chat and talk and just get my mind off it for a moment. And then suddenly my subconscious almost will come up with the different things. So you can be using of course, the story type. So there's one which is, so there's the 3 typical presentations you might give, at work, and the types of stories you might want to tell to make these more interesting, particularly to your audience. So it could be, for example, finance report, might use a success or failure story and focus on what you learned and how you're actually moving forward. Could be a company update. An origin story might be interesting, especially for new people, so they understand how you got to where you are and what the significance is. And then, of course, the idea pitch, might be a vision story, what the future looks like if your idea works, or even a realization story. Another thing I'll mention, sorry, this is not quite on the topic, but again, it's to do with story. There's a film called Searching for Sugarman. Check it out. Don't watch the trailer. Don't read about it. Just watch the film, please, because if you watch the trailer or read about it, it's going to give away what's going to happen in the story, and you really need to follow it. But in South Africa, there was someone who was very important to us called Rodriguez, and when their words, everything sort of symbolized what we were striving for, which was equality for not everyone, but a lot of us were. And it's just quite interesting, the story about that and about the singer and everything. Anyway, just to cover sort of just as an example. So it could be, of course, here could be the budget report, and you're showing the different things of how the different things have happened. Company update, what you've achieved, what you're working towards, what particular things needing to solve and work out, idea pitch. So there's many different things you could be using here. And of course, this could be a vision story, what the future looks like if your idea works, or even a realization story, which is really great. Okay, so what is the goal? So, of course, no one, of course, is impressed by a presentation that rambles. I hope I'm not rambling now, but before you start building a presentation, there are lots of things to consider. First, the most important is to work out what you want to achieve. There must be a reason you are presenting. After the presentation, what do you want the participants to do? So the goal of the TED Talk was to get people to consider walking, meeting, or different approaches, just having a change at that moment and not just staying even more and more intense. And then what do you want them to think? outline the structure of presentation in a way that people can follow easily. So people attend presentations to obtain information, but consider how you can influence your audience and what thoughts you need them to take away besides actual facts. So what moments in the story can you get them to really think about a topic or facts you're explaining, and how these bring insights? Try to really highlight these and integrate them with your presentation. People love that. People really, we're all humans and we love stories. We all love that particular story. A little bit like that image we have there of the bulb there in the stand, and it's, so when do you want them to feel? So you can influence people, feel when listening to your presentation, especially if you build up a rapport. You could be using humor, can be employed to lighten the tone as the subject, invite the audience to relax and be more open to your message. And another take is to personalize the narrative so that your audience may empathize with you. The more you can show yourself quite vulnerable, the more people will really often want to empathize with you. So you can use your personal stories to really highlight certain important ideas. And then building a connection with those you're actually presenting to make the most, almost dry topic much more engaging. And when you are face-to-face, a simple way is making eye contact with the audience and inviting them to participate. Now, sadly, I can't make eye contact with you, but I'm making eye contact, of course, with the camera. But of course, ideally, when I got you in front of me, we have face-to-face different events. And obviously, hopefully I'll see you at one of the face-to-face events. And then we see all of you and we look around at you. And of course, obviously, the eye contact is so important to involve everyone, include everyone. And then when you're actually online, use the chat to call. Of course, that's what we're using at the moment. And I can see Daryl's very busy with the different things there. So of course, use the chat to call participants out by name. Of course, I've mentioned your name. My apologies for the pronunciation, some of your names. So they really know the contributions are being noted, what I'm trying to do here as well. So it's really very important. It's so communicative. It's great. It's great. Anyway, I'll stop getting so excited. So what's the one thing you can want them to take away? All right. So you might want to, take away one thing, just one thing for the whole presentation, or perhaps one thing from each section, but really minimalize it to that kind of thing. Remember that people will forget much of your content, so refer back to your goal and don't tell them lots of things they don't need to know. So remember the TED Talk, it was very clear about the presenter wanted us to take away one thing. They need to be more active in our day-to-day lives and just get up sometimes and just walk away from it and then come back. All of those different things. And then basic structure and flow. All right. So by giving it a beginning, a middle, and an end, as we've mentioned, with stories, they do more for emotional connection than any other speech technique. The more personal and authentic, the more powerful the response you'll receive. You then consider the goals of the presentation. These create your problem and the solution narrative, always considering how you want the audience to think and feel for each part. You want to get them involved more than anything. And of course, at the moment, you can hear my voice, my tone of voice is very important. You try and speak as if you're speaking to just one person. But of course, obviously nice and clear so the person can hear you, but as well is quite a sort of personal way in that way. Make sure all these elements in your structure have flow. It is vital to do your homework. And it's also sometimes just to pause. Yes, sorry, just testing it. So research for your presentation. Identify your most relevant points. Your outline is simple, a list of your main points and subpoints of your presentation, and then sit down to write. So start strong, end strong, create a beginning and end, create a compelling hook and angle, use a provocative statement to tell a brief story or anecdote, ask a rhetorical question to get them really thinking, say something that shocks or surprises your audience within limit, yes, and then bring up a problem and share the solution, and then get your presentation design right. Nothing will distract your audience more than a poorly designed presentation. And then format your slide text for readability. But remember, a presentation is about you and what you have to say. Your slides are merely the backup dancers. A colleague of mine, a good friend of mine, actually, when he was going through, when we were giving talks, he he noticed certain nervous traits. Sometimes people rock from side to side, or there were certain things that we do almost out of habit. And of course, those can be distracting. And of course, the big thing often is standing there, feet firmly on the ground, speaking across to them. So all of these things are very important. And, okay, telling a story for your audience. This is the thing. It's not telling a story for yourself. It's telling a story for your audience. And as a homework activity, set aside some time over the next few days, if you're working on this, to practice telling somebody a story about something that inspires you. Set a timer for 3 minutes. If you have no personal pet, can be a pet at home, then you can record it and leave it a little while before actually watching it back, because sometimes you're like, oh no, I don't want to see it. But if you give it a little bit of time, you will give time to see it, and then maybe do it again. Can you tell the same story using one of the other story types? Okay, on to questions. Yes, so yes, let me see now. Yes, it was I do remember. I remember you down as nothing, but what is your name? Is it Nitin? Is that right? Can you tell us what career options are there in soft skills? Okay. Well, certainly in the Google Career Certificate, we do cover IT support. That is particularly soft skills, because of course you're always dealing with people. UX as well, to a certain extent, because of course you're making sure that the piece is looking right for people who are examining it, and you're making sure that they are happy. Google Analytics, not so much. Project management as well. You are, to a large extent, working with soft skills. But yes, if you're enlarging it to the general case with different ones, as Dara has said, of course, there's coaching, training, consulting, authoring, speaking. The interesting thing is, you have certain skills and you've got the degrees and you've got the certificates and all the rest. Often strengths are what people are not that aware of, because you will have certain things that you can do. Let's say in a group and you organize it, but you don't think about it. It's so obvious. And of course, and the danger with that, you need to ask other people for your strength to give you some feedback on that. And of course, it's the kind of things that you're not even aware of, because it's so simple. People are not going to pay me for that, but people will. That's the whole point. It's the strength that you have. So often it's in the area of soft skills that these strengths will come up that you're kind of almost not aware of, as well as in hard skills, which come up. What about for teen self-development coaching, considering short attention spans? Yes, absolutely. Very good point, Joanne. I see Daryl's paying. Yes, of course. Short, visual, interactive, fun, clear presentations is always trying to get onto their level. Obviously, as well, enthusiastic, and if they are not going to be enthusiastic at the beginning, it's going to take a bit of time to warm them up with the different things. Storytelling as well, absolutely. So there's many different sides. I mean, certainly the teenagers' stories are very, very important, and of course, the more those can be used as well. Okay. Hope that's a help, Nitin and Joanne. Excellent. Let us move now across onto the next section, because I see we're running a little bit short on time. So build effective presentations. Remember, of course, that before you deliver a presentation, it is essential you do your research and structure your thoughts. The more prepared you are, the better. Okay, in the next section, we'll explore the tools you can actually use to tell your story in an effective way. Now, some people, I must admit, I suppose sometimes with me as well, when I was at school, I remember standing up and giving a talk on, I just kind of had to come up with it at that moment. Some people are more comfortable doing that, but whether you're comfortable or not, the more structure you can get in there beforehand, so you really know what you're covering, that can help a lot. So choosing your presentation tools depends on particularly the audience, okay? So how many people do you need to present for? So, of course, for a job interview or performance review, it may be one person or a small panel. For a business meeting or sales pitch, you might have 10 people. Excuse me, if you're presenting to a conference, you may have 100 or 1,000 people. And if you're live, if you're live on the internet, of course, it could be, the sky's the limit. So do they all need the same information? How can you actually keep different people engaged throughout? Have you thought about engaging more of the senses when presenting? Can you give them something to look at, something to read, something to listen to, something to actually do? We have, with people's learning skills, of course, it does cover a lot in education, of course, Joanne, as you'll know. There's visual, I used to teach as well, and or visual or auditory, or there's different ways that people learn and everything. And it's to try and make sure that you cover all these different things for the audience. Now, what tools will you need to deliver your chosen presentation? Very important that you know this before. Do you have access to a projector at the venue? Does it have the right cables for your laptop? If you're not sure, then make sure you carry an adapter, for example. And then when selecting an online meeting tool, think about how many people can attend, whether you can share your slides and that kind of side. And then the audience size, location, the message you're trying to convey, and the tools and technology available. I've kind of repeated that almost 3 times. The audience, the message, and the tools and technology. Okay, so to slide or not to slide. Okay, of course, there's slides that you can be used. No means you man. Of course, we use slides, as you can see. There's also slides we sometimes do, for example, in partnership with BT, where we're also doing Slido, where you can actually interact and people give feedback and all the rest. So there's different things you can use, but often it's useful because it's something people can refer to as well. And then, of course, there's other aids, of course, more than one type of presentation. There's Mural, Canva, Slido, which I've mentioned already, or you could use none at all. You could just go up there and talk. It depends what would be best for you. So there's many different tools that you can use for presentation. I mean, of course, that's constantly updated. And, check out the different ones which are available and see which would suit you best, which you can really feel comfortable with in the talk. Okay, and then of course, so you're going to be choosing your tool. So your build presentation, you can be using a computer, tablet, or mobile phone. I mean, at the moment when I used to lecture in coding for game design, I used to use Spreadsheet, but the only problem, not Spreadsheet, what I mean is I used to use what's it called again? I can't remember now, but I've used it so long since I've used it, but basically slides, but with Microsoft. But I used to use that. And then PowerPoint, I used to use that, and that was fine. But I found that going from one computer to another, I often lost the actual talk. So then I started actually with Google Slides, and at the time they didn't have animation, so therefore you could go through the different points, especially with students. Often to face them with a whole list of different points can be just too much for them. But if you go through point by point, it's just quite useful. So shortly after that, they set it up. And of course, I could access it on different machines very easily. No, but that's one thing. You can access it easily. And then another side is that you can, of course, anyone who's got a Gmail can have access to that, just in case you didn't know. Of course, you've got 20 gigabytes of memory as well, which is online you can use. So there's, different options, or you could use a memory stick and then go and use the different particular piece of software you prefer. Okay, choosing a presentation tool. So we've got Slides, Google, so online, free, and great for, of course, collaboration. You can work on it together. PowerPoint, Microsoft, which I was mentioning, a cut down version, of course, is available online as well for free, or you can get the full features in the paid version. Prezi, I remember using Prezi. It was quite funny. I couldn't remember the name at first, but is as animation, but it's not free. And what's great is you've got the image there, and then you zoom into something, and it uses what's called vector graphics. Now, vector graphics is you can zoom in as much as you like, but it's not pixelated, so it'll never become pixelated. And it's really useful in that way, and it's quite fun. So you can get it, you can program it. So the first one will be going across there. This is great for structure, particularly if you want something which is very visual with the structure. You can zoom around with Prezi. Obviously, it's not free, so you have to pay for it. But I used to enjoy it quite a lot, particularly because I was into animation. And then there's Keynote, for example. Apple users will be very familiar with that side. So they all have their particular pros and cons and then differences. However, they are very similar. when you're actually creating a new presentation. So let's take a closer look at how to get started using, okay, we're going to just use an example here, Google Slides as an example. I mean, this at the moment, this is Google Slides anyway that I'm using. So Google Slides, of course, as you know, is a presentation editor in the Google Docs and Drive's productivity suite. Now, because the presentations are in the cloud and associated with a Google account, users and owners of Google Slides can access them at any computer without having to carry around, a flash drive. It also it also affords real-time collaboration between editors as well as different options for sharing the presentations. And of course, it is free. It's totally free. You don't pay anything. And additionally, a revision history is kept, which is quite useful. You can go back into history, which allows editors to access any version of the presentation in the past and also keep a log of who made which edits. And lastly, Google Slides can be converted to different formats, such as you can export it. You can as a PowerPoint or a PDF, and are also able to edit PowerPoint presentations as well, which is cool. So you choose a theme. You start off with choosing a theme. There's a typical lorem ipsum, dolor sit. Okay, you got typically that to the sort of example, but you choose a theme, whatever you prefer, with the colors and everything. Make sure it's nice and clear. I'm typically more dark, not in my character, but just I prefer dark theme often. So you've got like that example there. You've got a dark background and the white text, which whatever you prefer, you go for that. So a theme, of course, applies a consistent look to all the slides in that talk you're giving, and includes different slide types such as main title slides, section breaks, and content slides that have a heading, and different types of content. The formatting for these is all controlled by the theme, so you can get on with building your presentation. It's all being done for you for that. So, you would edit a master slide in Google Slides. You'd be calling it up there. There we go. So you click on slide, you go on to edit a master, you go on to here, and then you go on to that first slide here, and then you can go through and actually change the particular title here. And you're choosing the particular font, so you're preferring Impact in this particular example. And then, of course, you can go through type it, executive summary, and of course, you can go through all these different things. Okay. All right, so that gives you a rough idea. Now, when you're working with a different size, with the navigation, you've always got this at the top, which is quite useful. So you say at the beginning, untitled presentation, you put in the name and it'll be saved to your Google Drive, unless of course you choose to go into File, Export, and then you export, and then of course, but it will always be saved anyway for you on Google Slides. So you've got different things. Of course, you can print it. You can often print it as a PDF as well. You can undo, you can redo, you can see those arrows going that way, and then of course, at the moment you've got it on selector, which is with the arrow there, and then you can be onto putting in text. You can place the text where you want it. You can place an image, put shapes in there. You can put in lines and everything. You can choose background, layout, theme, transition. There's many different things you can choose there with the different things that you want to do. All right. It's kind of consistent. These are typical things that you have when you're working with Word or whatever it might be. You typically get that type of heading. And then, of course, a title, of course, is what really gets us hooked. So think back to the goal of your presentation. How can you use just a few words to tell people what they are going to get from your session? And whether the title of the presentation is listed in a conference program or online directly, the job of the title is to excite and intrigue people so they really want to attend. So use as little text as possible. We've got a quotation where it's kind of like, if you spend a lot of time, you can reduce it. If you spend little time, you're just going to be writing. I know with my experience with students writing essays, often they write. And of course, you really need to go through it and process it and reduce it. So you really cut it down to a minimum. So presentation top tips. So particularly, there is no magic number as it depends on the content you're delivering, but it would be a good idea not to add more slides than presentation minutes. And you want people to focus on what you're saying rather than reading loads of text. Use the bullet points to remind you of or reinforce key points, not be a script. You can also set it up as an animation so it comes up from the bottom or side or whatever you want to do. Think about the size of your text. Can it be read at the back? very important. Are the characters clear? Plain font is much easier to read than a fancy one. What about contrast? A dark font on a light background is easiest. And as well as just text, can you use a good quality image, chart, or graph to illustrate a point? Reliable statistics are great to emphasize a point. Just make sure you have the credible source to hand if needed. And then keep it interesting by varying the pace of your slides. Sometimes you'll move quickly through a series of impactful points. I must admit, I'm moving quite fast, so looking at the time. At other times, you'll dwell on a story to really explore an important concept. Okay, so running an online presentation. Okay, so when you're actually delivering a remote session, it is even more important to think about your audience, as you can't see their body language or make eye contact to see how they are getting on. If you're going to build a slide deck, you'll need to choose a tool that can support screen sharing. Again, the size of audience is really important. So for a one-to-one session, you can jump on a video call using your mobile phone or a free platform such as Google Hangout. For a group meeting, you'll need to think about whether video is enabled and make sure everyone mutes their microphone when they aren't talking. Now, a larger session like this one is streamed, okay, so this means it has to run more like a television broadcast with a presenter and viewers, but there is the added benefit of chat, which allows participants to get involved, if you want them to. Now, at the moment, of course, Daryl is moderating. He's also broadcasting, so he's broadcasting this. He's got both sides of the coin as he has to deal with, whereas, of course, I'm just doing the presentation. So then there's screen sharing. You always need a moderator for a talk. It's very important because you need someone to answer all the questions. Yes, I've got the interaction there on my screen, but at the same time, I can't always see it. I mean, obviously, otherwise it's going to distract things. So those are some of the different sides. So screen sharing, video for participants, will you be able to see them? It's great if you can see them, preferable. Live audience participation, will you have it? Will this just be through a chat, or will you have the audience speak through your platform? And then important, will you need a moderator? I really do feel you'll need a moderator anyway. In certain instances, you may need the help of a moderator to assist with answering questions. I feel in all cases you should, when you've got a bigger group. If there is a delay between when your stream goes live on the internet and when you stream it, even a 60-second delay can cause some awkward silences. And of course, we're aware of that. That's why often we say, do put that, and I will carry on and then come back to it. Now, if you are expecting large numbers of participants, as it can get difficult to manage all the questions whilst presenting, particularly this for the moderator, and if you have a particularly interactive presentation. So ease of use, how easy is it to set up? Make sure it's easy as possible and get used to it. How easy for participants to join? And then, of course, the cost. And of course, practice. Just practice as much as you can. Pausing for questions. No further questions yet. Right. Okay. So let me carry on to the next part. Boost your presentation videos. I think we're actually all right in time. I might go a little bit quickly. So presentation techniques are the skills you need to deliver engaging and effective presentations to a variety, of course, of audiences. A successful presentation should offer more than consistent structure and traditional slides, gestures, facial expressions. Voice and conviction must all be right. So remember, the audience is there to engage with you. You're talking to them, not a slide deck. They're there to discuss it with you. And it's so important, your voice, how you project, the communication that you're putting across. That's what people are there for. And if it's red, that's when people go to sleep. So what kind of presenter will you be? So once you've actually built your presentation, you need to know how to deliver it. Remember, right at the beginning, when I asked you to think about those best and worst presentations, you remember that? Now, normally the difference between the two is the person doing the talking. So, of course, you constantly want to throw some questions out to the audience. I feel sometimes I don't do it enough. I feel I've been talking too much, really. But, of course, it's that where you can actually ask them to come up with some feedback. It's really useful. Now, some people believe that good, confident speakers have some sort of natural gift, that you either have it or you don't. But, honestly, presenting is a skill that can be learned just like any other. And the great news is that there is lots that you can do today to improve your presentation style, whether it's to your dog, your hamster, or your partner, or your son or friend, or whatever it might be. The point is, the more practice you can get, the better. Okay. Adapt to your audience. Very, very important. It's so nice when we do have an active audience, and of course we are interacting with them. Of course, we can see their expression on their faces. We're interacting with them, and there's so much you can pick up from that. When I was interviewing for coders for Google Digital Garage as well, it was quite interesting because the CV was there, but it's that, you know, let me see the person. You pick up so much more. And of course they will. As soon as you're up there, they're picking up from you. And they want to communicate, you know, the majority of them. They want to know. So turn crowds to conversations. You know, think about the space you are actually presenting in. You aim to understand the crowds are really individuals. There are many, many individuals. And if it makes sense to one individual, it will make sense to many. You know, it's different when you're actually presenting online, even though the numbers can be much bigger. You know, we still tend to treat them as if we're delivering to one person and really try to talk to them directly. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Audience participation. Okay. So interact with the audience. No matter how small or large, there are small ways you can interact with the audience and keep them interested. You know, with large groups, you know, ask for a quick show of hands. How many people in this room watch Game of Thrones? You know what I mean? It's kind of be, okay, people, I'm going to do that now just for fun for you. Put an emoji, please, if you watch Game of Thrones. There we go. I mean, I know there'll be a delay, so it'll take a little bit of time, you know. And another one could be whilst you're putting an emoji, if you watch Game of Thrones. Hey, great, Daryl. So, and then of course, for example, stand up if you like Beyonce. You know what I mean? So it could be things like that. It's really fun to do because you interact with people. I mean, obviously that's more when you got the people in front of you. I've given you an example now, of course, where you put an emoji. So come on, are there no one else who watches Game of Thrones or has before in the past? Oh dear. Okay, and then of course. That's with large groups. And the medium groups, you know, can ask questions directly to individuals, you know. Where are you from? I mean, of course, we always do that at the beginning. Where are you from? You know, it'd be fascinating to know. And it is fascinating for us. You know, we're sat in the UK, but it could be from any part of the world. And have you used Google products before? You know, what did you think? You know, and then you could split the group up into pairs or in half. You know, set them tasks, ask them to present back what they have learned as well. And then, of course, you got one-to-one groups. You know, remember, it's a conversation. Ask them, you know, to carry out the task you've been discussing. So can you actually show me how to add an image into our website? So you get them to do it there, which is fabulous. And then online, can you enable the chat? You know, you have to have a moderator or build in breaks to check. Hey, Fabian, great. We got another one. Sorry, just excited. We've got someone else in play, which is Game of Thrones. Great. So it's conversation. Ask them to carry out the task. And sorry, online, can you enable the chat? You know, it's really helpful, you know, have a moderator or built-in breaks to really check the chat. I mean, we have built-in breaks where we've got questions and answers, which is really nice. I mean, half the time, of course, you know, Daryl's okay, well, he's answered all the questions anyway that come up. But I mean, it's just really nice because we can, and I had with the first one, we had Nitin, I think, and then also Joanne. So it's just nice and interactive. We're really great with this. And Fabian, who watches Game of Thrones, cool. Anyway, so of course, there's nothing worse than a one-sided conversation. Obviously, I'm trying not to do too much of the one-sided. So ask your audience questions, get to know them. It will really make the session more memorable for them. But it will also help you present the content they really want to know. And the more you can bring them in, the more you're answering their questions, and it really does become more conversational. And don't talk at them nonstop. You know, have you sat in a presentation where the presenter was racing to get to the end? Okay, sorry, I'm doing it now, I guess, and didn't stop once to interact with the audience. But I'm interacting with you. Don't forget. Now, how did it feel? So, of course, it's, you know, the important thing is that you're communicating with them. So important. All right. Avoid content overload, okay, which we do try to do that with a lot of these things, but it's so exciting. We're trying to get a lot across. So tailor the content to the people in the room. You know, if you have a plumber in the room, use plumbing businesses as an example. Make it relevant to your audience and they will engage with what you're actually saying. And then focus, have 3 key verbal points prepared for each slide. You have noticed we always do that. Make sure you can recite these in less than a minute without looking at the slide. As long as you can deliver your key points, it doesn't really matter what what else you say. And generally, the less you say, the better. Pause. When you first show a slide, pause. Have that pause. Very important. Give yourself time to recall your key points for the slide and give your audience time to look at the slide and then refocus on you. It can feel unnatural, but it's kind of fun. I mean, I'm trained as an actor. I have a lot of fun with that. But to the audience, you will look composed and confident and that kind of side. Now, it's so important. Your voice is a powerful weapon. So think about how you can adapt it, and really depending on the situation you are in. So it's things like volume. Tailor how loud your voice in the group size. Now, when you think about loud, don't start shouting. I mean, I've got training in this, but you get used to projecting your voice to the back of the room. Make sure everyone can hear you. Use it to get attention. Check if there's anyone as well. If there's some people who can't have problems with their hearing, so you need to go very specifically and louder to those particular people as well. I've been in a talk where that was, and I tried to make sure that was all covered so that person could follow everything. Use it as a tool. Speak quietly mid-sentence to actually get the room to focus on what you're actually saying, or increase the volume to make a point. And then style, adapt to suit your audience and the subject. Think about how this will change depending on the size of your audience or the experience level of your group. And I mean, even with a big group, sometimes, the style, sometimes you go really quiet and people suddenly really listening. So, and tone, vary to make the, presentation interesting. Be conscious of your tone. If you speak in a monotone, then this is not going to be interesting to the audience. So think about how you use to communicate meaning. And an inverted tone at the end of the sentence indicates a question. So if you do this all the time, it can get confusing. So, don't do that too much. And then the pace, maintain a steady speed, and remember to pause. Remember, especially if you're standing in front of a big group, remember to pause and breathe. Don't rush through the content. Delivering your presentation in a calm, well-paced way, making sure people are not falling asleep, will make you seem confident and credible. Even if presenting is terrifying for you, take a deep breath. Stand your ground, present. Body language comprises gesture, stance, and facial expression. I struggle actually with one, which is stance, because I'm 2 meters tall. So, of course, I'm typically talking like this, and my shoulders, I have to try and remember to get my shoulders back. And with the Black Business Expo on Sunday, they had a 360, so I did the 360, which... but the first one I was like, oh no, sorry, I can't have that one. That's terrible. My shoulders are, so of course I have to stand up like this. So it is hard to remember some of these things, particularly on your body type. But it's so important, your gesture, your stance, your facial expression. And it's so important, your positive body language becomes an essential tool in which you really build credibility, express your emotions, and connect with your listeners. Eye contact as well, which is very important. I mean, I lived in Spain. You can probably see I lived there for 7 years. And of course, I keep gesticulating. But of course, that's what we did in Spain. We gesticulate a lot when we're speaking. Cuando estamos hablando en español. Anyway, so we're going to think about what our body language conveys. So pick one of these negative, well, okay, so you can't do this, but think about this and use your body to demonstrate it without, okay, obviously I can't see you, sadly. But there's these ones. Are you happy or sad? Nervous or confident? Honest or untrustworthy? So think of these different things. Put the stance, look at yourself there in the mirror or in the camera, whatever it might be, and work out, what is this? What am I conveying? Is it happy, sad? Is it nervous, confident? Is it honest, trustworthy? Work on all these different things. There's the power poses, which actually I keep trying to remember for myself to do just because of my posture, but we'll try something together. Okay, I can't see you, but never mind. The big thing is good, strong stance, open, confident trunk, strong, comfortable arms, a slightly raised chin, and your strongest smile. Okay, power poses really work because it kind of has an effect on yourself. It has on testosterone level as well, decreased cortisol levels, will make you feel stronger and more confident. So next time you have a stressful situation, try and adopt a power pose for 2 minutes and see if it makes a difference. Okay. And there we got the ones there. There were ones with their hands up and everything. So there's all sorts of different ways of doing this. So be mindful of stance, movement, connecting, and look out for something which is a nervous reaction. You keep doing it. Make yourself conscious of that, and then just stabilize, stand front, and just talk. Practice, practice, practice. Very important. Adapt your audience, think about your voice, consider your body language, and practice your performance. Questions. I doubt there are any questions, and there are 0 minutes to go. No time either. So what are your next steps? Think about all these different sides, all the different things. Don't forget, up to 24 hours after I finish giving this talk, you can refer back to the same URL and you can watch the video at any point. Whoops. So don't forget, you can check up to 24 hours after I've finished the talk. Free, flexible Google Career Certificates, great opportunity there. And so everyone, thank you for all your questions, contributions. Everything's been fabulous. We're going to wrap up here as we're out of time, literally. I hope that has been a useful dive into particularly, presenting and everything, really memorable presentations. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, if you're interested in more training Google Digital Garage, there are a few ways you can continue learning. We are running more Google Digital Garage webinars in different subjects you'd like to check out. You see the link there down below. Keep checking, but they'll keep being updated. Also, if you would like to carry on learning online in your own time, check out the Google Digital Garage website for more online training, which will be available to you 24/7. And thank you, everyone, for joining and contributing everything. Thank you, Daryl. You've been fabulous. We look forward to welcoming you again to another Google Digital Garage training session soon. Thank you.